I want to hold item 1 with the hopes of Mr. Rosendahl getting here. Let's go to item 2.
The port folks are on their way. Here's
Right.
Sam.
The 2, so 2,
We do 6, the convention center?
let's see, Convention Center here? Okay, Convention Center here.
All right. I'll move all for approval.
All for approval, that's pretty good there, Mr.
Except for the
Garcetti.
prime numbers.
You got it, okay, got it.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Which
know.
one? Is that?
We don't know what we're going to do.
Are you, John Wickham, you here for number 7? Yes, I am. Item number 7, please.
There we go. Congratulations, you're going to get an offer.
Mr. Chair, is it all right if I announce item 7?
Say it again?
It's just Conchita outside of-
Yeah, sure, please do. Thank you.
Item number 7 is motion Perry Reyes relative to Chief Legislative Analyst's evaluation of the proposed Olympic North Hotel project and recommendation of appropriate forms of economic development support.
Thank you. Mr. Wickham.
Yes, as John Wickham with the Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst. As you know, one of the chief liabilities that the convention center is facing is a lack of hotel rooms in the vicinity. As we saw in the recent discussions on the stadium proposal, there are only 1,700 hotel rooms down around the convention center, and LA Inc. and the convention center both reported we need more than 7,000 rooms in that area. So this proposal for a hotel that's come forward would add to the inventory in the district. So it is an important opportunity to develop the business opportunities at the convention center. This motion instructs the Office of the CLA to do some research, figure out what kinds of economic incentives are available to help the facility if such incentives are necessary, and we would go forward and do that as we've done with Wilshire Grand Avenue, Headquarters Hotel, et cetera.
Mr. Garcetti.
Who's the owner of this property?
Excuse me?
Who's the owner of the property?
I believe the owner of the property is AEG, but there's a developer who's coming in, and the proposal is to build 2 hotels on the site. They're both within the Marriott brand, and I can't recall the 2 hotel brands that would be built there. And it's a developer who's worked in the South Park area before and has done some very good work from all reports.
Do you know the name of the developer?
Homer Williams? Does that sound?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Well, that might just be The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yes, very good, Mr.
Conflating
Garcetti,
some
but you're going to find all this out,
cartoons there.
Mr. Wickham. You're going to dig deep and come back and make a recommendation.
Absolutely.
Mr. Miller will be involved, who's
Absolutely.
expert in this. He's done many important projects.
Exactly.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, last question. What famous city function used to be on Georgia Street?
I don't know.
Man. Anybody know? No.
The,
Very good. Who said that? Very good. Yeah. What kind of police station? Georgia Street Juvenile. Very good. Okay. You were there too? Well, you were there. I got you covered. Okay. Thank you very much.
what's his prize?
A free tour to the tower. All right, Mr. Wickham, we're going to recommend approval.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 7. How about item number 6? Anybody here for 6? Yet. Item 6?
Item number 6 is...
We're going to read it in with the clerk, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Item number 6 is a city administrative officer report relative to an amendment to a contract between the Los Angeles Convention Center and CMG Design Incorporated.
Yes, go ahead,
Morning.
please.
Natalie Brill from CEO's office. This is an extension to an existing contract. The Convention Center would like to extend the original contract, which expires January 5th, 2013, through January 5th, 2014. The reason they'd like to do this is because this contractor has agreed to the 10% reduction in contract rates and also to their fee. And the Convention Center uses this contractor to provide the graphic design services for their department reports and other related materials. So it's pretty straightforward report.
Any questions, Mr. Garcetti?
Nope.
So does the convention center say to their contractor, listen, we're going to go out to bid, but if you want to reduce, we can look at a way to extend this and make everybody win. Now, is that legal by the city attorney?
Well, if the contract, you can always come back to council and ask for additional terms for contracts.
Got it.
and that's
So
what
it's
they're
okay.
doing.
The city attorney's reviewed this?
Yes.
Okay. Recommended approval. Thank you very
All right,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it seems like our friends from the Port of Los Angeles are here. So, let's go to item, everybody ready for the port, Aaron?
Let's do it.
Okay, item number 2.
Item number 2 is the Board of Harbor Commissioners report relative to a proposed lease extension to, with the United States Customs and Border Protection for its laboratory located at Terminal Island.
Thank you very much, Mr. CAO. Give us a little rundown real quick and then have the department report.
Certainly. This is a proposed lease extension, a 3-year lease extension for a current lease with the federal government for the U.S. GSA's Customs and Border Protection Laboratory. It is on land that was acquired from the federal government in 2005 when the feds declared it surplus. Harbor anticipates down the road utilizing it for harbor purposes, but for the time being, the proposal is to extend this lease until the GSA is able to relocate that laboratory. We've reviewed it. It's pretty routine. We recommended approval.
Great. Mr. Harbor Department?
Good morning. My name is Regner Globus. As stated by Bill, it's an extension. It's a situation where they had a 5-year lease and stated that they were going to move during that time, and on the end of that agreement, they weren't able to do that. So they're planning on moving, and they've got something going on right now with another lessor. So we're giving them up to 36 months to relocate from this location.
Mr. Garcetti?
Just real briefly, I know it says it was exempt from CEQA. Is there any environmental concerns in terms of the activity in the laboratories that are being done?
No, they're doing some testing that uses hazardous materials, but it's fully controlled. They've got the systems to handle that, and it's just doing exactly the same thing that they were doing in the past 5 years.
Okay.
Very good. Now, you ever hear of UL Laboratory?
I'm sorry?
UL Laboratory? UL approved? You ever hear that in your life?
I see it on my plugs of appliances all the time.
You know what it means?
No, I don't.
Underwriter Laboratory. Anybody knew that in this room? 2 or 3 people. Good job. Okay. Good. And guess who has a great lab? The city of Los Angeles at Doris Place.
Is that in Legion
Mr.
Valley?
Garcetti's district,
AKA
which
Frogtown.
are building and safety use. So these are important aspects. It works for the customs, works for the port. Recommend approval. So ordered. Next item.
Yeah.
Item number 3 is the Board of Harbor Commissioners report relative to a proposed foreign trade zone general purposes operating agreement between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and CEVA Freight LLC for Foreign Trade Zone 202 Site 4D.
Good morning. I'm Craig Jondal, Director of Business Development.
Morning. Okay, Craig, tell us why we should vote yes.
Well, foreign trade zones are an asset for the city. They create jobs, and of course, they help businesses bring commodities into the country, don't have to pay tariffs or duties until they're exported out, so that allows them to work on these products, whether they're raw goods or finished product, and then they're able to work on them within the foreign trade zone area, which is a designated area, secure area, and we handle that on behalf of the federal government for the city of Los Angeles.
So this is in Carson?
Yes, this Silver Freight they already have operating one warehouse in the Torrance, and they want to expand the operation into the Carson. So this is their second warehouse, FTZ warehouse.
So the City of LA has authority under the federal government for the region, not just for this city?
This is
That's
yes.
correct.
Interesting.
The CEVA Freight will have 131 full-time jobs, 13 part-time jobs, and the Houston NYK will have nearly 300 full-time jobs.
Good, I think that's a good thing, and I also think the spirit of the harbor goes beyond the borders of Los Angeles, so to help Carson or Torrance or South Bay or anywhere in a positive way is a good thing.
Just for the committee's information, the port currently sponsors 23 different FTZ sites in the immediate area, and there actually are a few quite removed.
Right.
I think there's one in Saugus.
That's correct.
There's one that's in Van Nuys too, right?
They're all throughout Southern California, absolutely.
Right. Good.
Interesting. All right.
All right, Mr. Garcetti, no more questions?
One other quick question. How do we market that?
We market it in a variety of ways, but when we go out to visit customers on our domestic travels, we talk about our foreign trade zone areas, which can be an asset for these companies. So there's definitely an item that we talk about with our customers.
If you have any information on that, like, or a web link or anything, as we talk to companies as well, will you send that to us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll make sure you get that to your office.
And also, I think Mr. Garcetti probed the thing about marketing. If you have a map of the region and show a line from the harbor to Saugus to wherever the other 23 are, to show that the harbor and the Port of Los Angeles is connected throughout Southern California, I think that'd be a positive image to tell people that the port is part of all our community.
And we agree 100%. We have that already drawn up. We produce it, and we'll make sure it gets to your office so you can
Super.
see it as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next item.
Mr. Chair, for the record, so the disposition on item number 3
Right.
is...
Approval.
Approval?
Recommend approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item
Board two.
is item number 4, and that is Board of Harbors Commissioners Report relative to an amendment to Foreign Trade Zone General Purposes Operating Agreement between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and NYK Logistics America Incorporated.
Yeah, well, to move, change that.
Yeah.
You want-
Okay, good. This is the same thing?
Same thing.
Right.
Same element, yes, sir.
Mr. Garcetti, you're good with that?
Move approval.
Move approval?
Thank you.
Excuse me, committee members, the Harbor Department wants to make a technical correction in its
Technical
report.
correction, if you would.
It's this in the summary in the board report, we mentioned that the NYK agreement had 5 years and 3 5-year agreement extension. It's supposed to be a 2 5-year extension.
2, okay. We recommend, Mr. Garcetti, the friendly amendment to
Do you want?
do that.
Yeah, we'll move approval of that. I'll move it if you want.
Yes.
Okay. And if you want votes on, I looked at the materials for the next one, if you want to.
5.
I can.
Got it. On item number
Record,
5,
Still hear the presentation.
right. We're going to vote on it, but I want to hear the presentation. Just for the record, Mr. Garcetti's reviewed it.
Oh, item number 5 is Board of Harbor Commissioners Report relative to an amendment to Personal Services Agreement between the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department and CH2M Hill Incorporated.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Garcetti, approval, but I want to hear a report.
Well, I was actually going to apologize. The subject matter expert is unavailable today, but we will make sure.
You're expert to me. Go on, Aaron.
So this is a 4-year time extension for CH2M Hill for planning and engineering services for a roadway improvement down in San Pedro. Hopefully will help with the efficiency of goods movements and people. There's no request for additional money. It's just a 4-year time extension. The project is going to start in the spring of 2013 and hopefully will end in the summer of 2014.
We're aware of that, so this is good. As I said, recommend approval. Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask the Deputy of the 11th District to come up here. Hold for a second. Just recap our agenda right now, what we've approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, items number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 were all approved.
Good. Very good. So we're going to hold for item number 1?
But, Mr. Chair, item number 4 was approved as amended.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
That looks good all the way around. We're going to ask for the Airport Department to prepare their presentation. We're awaiting arrival. Coming in at 24R, Councilman Rosendahl momentarily. He's got gate clearance. So if you want to take the seats, as he'll be in here in about 2 minutes. Everybody can relax. We'll just take a minor break on that.
copied the harbor report. I miswrote that. CAO said 20 years, potential maximum 20 years, as did the harbor, but that was incorrect. It is 15 years. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not writing it fast.
I just want to ask the Port of Los Angeles a question. Anything new at the port? How many ships are in today?
There are 3 today.
3 in today. How many total ships are at dockside? You would guess.
Today, well, this week there'll be 7 total.
7 total. Is that high or low from 10 years ago?
It's about on average right now.
Average right now? Good. Okay, good. So we've completed all the work of the Harbor Department. So if you want to go back to the harbor, you can go back to work. Got it out there. All right, good. You got it. Thank you. And good. Hold on a second.
Hey, you get to go? I got stuck in traffic.
Mr. Garcetti was excused to go to a conference to announce Ciclavia, which is a bicycle day this Saturday. I believe this Saturday. Is it the 9th or Sunday? Sunday? Sunday the 9th. So we'll stand by for that. And thank you for your patience, but I'd like to share this with Mr. Rosendahl as well. This is to, let's call this just into order right now, just,
Mr. Chair, would you like me to read the description for
Sure.
item number 1?
sure.
Item number 1 is a verbal report by the Los Angeles World Airports on the status of concessions development at the Los Angeles International Airport.
Great. So as Mr. Rosendahl has now got his coffee here, I approach, he's on approach to the gate, I think now, he's landed, which is good. And Margaret, thank you very much for all you do for Mr. Rosendahl. So we're just going to hang on right here for a little bit. And if you ever had a pie chart, you're going to get into it, but if you look back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, 90s, what concessions have meant to the municipal airport?
In terms of revenue?
Yeah.
Usually it's about 10% of total revenue.
No, but like in 1960 or the whole formula's changed
Oh, yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, in the 60s and the 70s, it was more like a cafeteria operation
Right.
and just basic food.
Now, I may be mistaken, but maybe the popcorn at LAX was the best when I was a child. I don't know. Maybe.
We don't have any
wrong.
popcorn now.
No, I know. But it really was something special. You get popcorn. Ask Ethel Patterson. Is tonight the Flight Path Museum dinner? Yeah. Ethel Patterson would know if the popcorn is... It's tomorrow night?
Okay.
Tomorrow night. Thank you. So, anyway, so we'll stand by just for a little bit there, if it's okay. Raise your hand if you're not on your BlackBerry. I think only one person's not on their BlackBerry. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, do we know if he's in the building?
He's in the building, his coffee's here, one of his deputies was here, so I do believe he's just waiting for customs. Here we go. Mr. Rosendahl, Councilman of the 11th District. Everything good? Okay, good. That was a thing. Welcome, Bill. Good morning. You're all set up right here. Margaret was here. We did review all the Harbor Department, which was approved by their commission, and we approved all those items. Would you like to, We've already voted on that, but it came back a majority.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you could revisit all the items that were considered. That's item 2 through 7. And if Councilmember Rosendahl would like to be added on to?
Sure.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see 7. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All on 7. But here we have item number 1. We've been standing by, as you get sometimes know at the airport, when you stay on the jetway, you don't take off until you get all the passengers aboard. We're fine to have you here. So I'd like to ask identification and a report from the airport department, item number 1, which was called in by Sharon, our city clerk.
Do you want me to read?
Yes, read it in.
Item number 1 is a verbal report by the Los Angeles World Airports on the status of concessions development at the Los Angeles International Airport.
Good morning. My name is Steve Martin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Los Angeles World Airports. I'm overseeing the process for concessions. Debbie Bowers, who's the Deputy Executive Director for Commercial Development, is sort of in charge of project execution. We put together a short 9-page kind of overview of where we are sort of mid-course on concessions at LAX, and I'll just go through that if that's okay with you.
Sure.
On page 1, sort of in first couple of pages, answer the question, what is the problem we're trying to solve, or what are we trying to address? And I think on page 1 and page 2, you'll see that LAX as an airport has underperformed in terms of concessions relative to other airports. Sort of the basic measure of concession performance is sales per passenger, which is an indication of sort of the participation of the passengers in the process. On page, the first page with the graph, you'll see that we're sort of mid-pack among a lot of large airports, which is a lower than expected result given the fact that LAX tends to have long haul and international flights. You would tend to expect more spending at an airport like LAX. The second page simply shows that spend rate has been not keeping pace with other airports over time, so we're not on an upward trend, we're actually on a downward trend. The third page, which is a little bit complicated, raises the question of when we first started the concessions rehabilitation program, we kind of analyzed all the terminals, which are very different in nature. Some of them we had more control over than others at the time that we started this, and some of them were in different condition than others. So in order to get out of the blocks quickly, we did a sort of a direct leasing program for terminals 4, 5, 7, and 8 in 2010, and held back the more complicated terminals, the ones that are the white bubbles, until we could develop the terminal concession manager idea that we are going to discuss today. So on page 4, just so that you know what we've awarded to date, which is a process we all went through in 2010, there were 7 food and beverage packages awarded, 4 retail packages awarded, and 1 services package. We have commenced construction in terminals 4, 5, 7, and 8. And given the phasing of construction while still operating those terminals, it'll take a year to really complete that construction process in those terminals. For the remaining terminals, we've gone with this alternative model called the Terminal Concession Manager, which has us engaged with a company who is not an operating company, but basically goes through as a leasing agent almost to populate the space and redevelop the space in each of the terminals. And on page 5, we kind of list the reasons that we feel this is a better model. In general, airports use a variety of models to deliver concessions. For our goals, we thought that the terminal commercial manager would do a better job achieving our goals in terms of participation, concept development, and keeping things fresh at the airport. If you look at page 6, there are, just so you know, 2 RFPs on the street now. One we called RFP 1 for Terminal Concession Manager and RFP 2. They're different. RFP 1 is for the Tom Bradley International Terminal and for Terminal 2, and RFP 2 is for Terminals 1, 3, and 6. We're often asked the question, why are there 2 packages? And we've listed a bunch of reasons there. I think the key takeaway from that is the Tom Bradley Terminal and Terminal 2 are catering largely to international passengers, and we're looking for somebody with a strong ability to cater to those passengers. Terminals 1, 3, and 6 are largely domestic and fairly old facilities, so they need a lot of construction work. So we've focused that RFP more on having the concessions contribute to the improvement of the terminals, whereas in Terminals 2 and the Tom Bradley Terminal, we've done a lot of the improvements. As you know, the Bradley West project is underway, and we're doing a lot of improvements there. So we're looking for a little bit of a different specialization between the two RFPs, and that's why we have two. We also think it will increase competition. On page 7, just so you know, we've listed here the evaluation criteria, which you can see is a diverse set of criteria. It's not a bid. It's not structured as a pure financial proposal. As I suggested a minute ago, the weighting of the criteria is slightly different between package 1 and package 2, where there's more financial weight assigned in package 1 and more development weight in package 2 because of the older terminals. So people have asked us why there's different weighting. That is the reason there's different weighting. Just so you know, when those will be in and due this month, the proposals, and we'll be processing them and hoping to go to the Board of Airport Commissioners in December or January. In the pipeline right behind those concessions are two other very important concessions. One is the duty-free operation. That's a very important concession to the Bradley Terminal expansion to the west. And also the advertising and what we call the terminal media operator concession is also in the pipeline for 2012. Those are big concessions, and they're very important concessions. If you go to the final page, just to give you an idea of what we're trying to deal with, a lot of what we're trying to do is focused on the critical path of populating the Bradley terminal so that when it's ready to open, it has concessions in it. Atlanta Airport, just so you know, has a new international terminal, and they've delayed the opening by 4 months because they didn't get the concessions done. And we don't want to be in that position. So it's a pretty essential part of running a terminal to have food and other services for the passengers. So we're pretty driven by schedule on this project, largely around the Bradley terminal. For the other terminals, our biggest concern is how do we do renovation and keep the terminals operating and keeping the level of service high. Construction will always be inconvenient. We're doing the best we can. There are a lot of temporary operations we'll have to put in place. And we're really looking forward to having the terminal commercial manager, particularly in 1, 3, and 6, help us think through how to maintain service while doing renovation. So, take any questions.
Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, just on a more personal note, I was waiting for someone to come in from an international flight coming through one of the terminals, and there's like nothing there for me if I wanted a cup of coffee or something to eat or wait. A lot of people are waiting because the plane is delayed in some part of the trip or whatever. And I hope when we think of every terminal and we think of people picking up passengers, that the amenity package of food and beverage is also there for the people who are coming to pick up people. I've been saying that.
We're actually just talking about that driving down. Maybe, Deb, you can describe what we've done to date in 4, 5, 7, and 8.
So when we did 4, 5, 7, and 8, there used to be a lot of car rental counters in the arrival section. Right. We've taken all of those areas and added a food and beverage. Generally, for example, in Terminal 4, there'll be a Starbucks in the arrival section. So we've done that in each terminal, and we are hoping to do that in 1, 3, and 6. So, and we're trying where we can, even though it's very limited space, to put a seating area of some sort down there that goes with the food and beverage operator. But we're hoping that all that works out fine.
Okay, it's something I really think we need to do because half the experience are the people coming to pick up somebody. Mm-hmm. And the way the world is today, we're pretty good. The planes land more on time in our airport than they're doing in Chicago and New York and a lot of the other places, dramatically better. But on the other hand, the people waiting would love to be able to have something to eat, sit down, relax a little bit, because some of them wait an hour or two when planes are delayed and cut back. So please, let's look at that at every terminal.
Yeah.
But specifically to what you talked about today, has the RFP been written to ensure that the new concession space at Bradley will be ready for 12/12/12 opening?
We have made it very clear in the RFP that that is our highest priority, and we get the proposals in on October 17th.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to do that. The biggest challenge we're having is permitting construction, either through building and safety or through the county on the health side. So, but in Bradley West, because the whole building is being permitted newly, it should be more successful as opposed to going and redoing old terminals. So I think we're pretty confident that we can strive for that.
Good, and if there's anything with building and safety where I can be of help, Mr. Labange and I would be more than happy to assist with building and safety. Does LAWA retain the authority to approve the concession selection made by the terminal commercial manager?
Yeah, the way the draft agreement is structured, LAWA has a right of, technically a right of disapproval, which is effectively a right of approval. It says basically we get to approve it if they follow a process that we've outlined for them. So we have a right to disapprove, which effectively amounts to a right of approval.
Great. Does LAWA expect that the winning terminal commercial manager will maintain a focus on local brands and businesses?
Yes, I mean, maybe you can describe what's in the RFP on that topic. We've specifically asked them to demonstrate in their proposals how that works.
It's a little tricky because in the RFP, they're not supposed to tell us who the concessionaires, and there's a host of reasons of why we asked for that. But they have to show how they, experience-wise, that they've gone into other airports and adopted the local flair, and how they went about picking concessionaires that were local. So that's one thing, we're looking at their experience. But for telling us who they would pick locally in Los Angeles, we won't know that until we start the process, the development improvement plan process, which is after the award of the contract.
Okay. I just urge us to encourage them, obviously. The whole strategy we've had since day one is local, 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 the flair, the flavor, the connection with these people coming in and out. Has LAWA and the TCM bidders worked with the labor community throughout this process? Living wages, health care, all these benefits?
Yeah, my understanding is that the people that we think are going to propose have all worked with the local unions, and they're all well aware of our living wage ordinance and all the other rules that they're going to have to follow as it regards employees.
And the board has adopted a labor peace provision that will be required of all the concessionaires who operate at the airport.
Great. And Mr. Chair, one more question. When will LAWA release the duty-free RFP?
We are hoping to have it released.
It will be in October.
Yeah.
You look like a sitcom there for a second. In October.
Debbie, because of the 18 holes. We went there the other day. People are very pleased with that commitment that was followed. I want to thank you.
Now, just want to ask a clarification on the issue which is transforming with a terminal concessionaire. Prior to that, what do we have? Who operates?
Well, I mean, it's the traditional concessionaires, the remaining terminals that have not been awarded. It's a mix largely of Post Services, Delaware North Corporation on the food side, and Hudson is the news retail operator. And Going forward?
Yeah.
Under this, we'd pick a company who would then run a process to find out who would populate each unit, each shop.
Correct.
Yep.
Which is the more efficient way to go.
Yes.
Right. And that would be one for the whole airport or one for each terminal?
Well, it'll be the Bradley and Terminal 2, there'll be one for that. And
right.
we will pick many operators
Got it.
within the
Got
terminal.
it.
So there'll be, I'm guessing there'll be 6 or 7 operators in each terminal underneath this terminal commercial manager.
Right.
So,
Well, this is a good verbal report. I just wanted you to make progress. I think we want to see the economic engine grow properly, both in the construction side and the planning for that. What you mentioned about Atlanta is very serious concern. If it's, you don't have a building and you don't have any operation in it, it's very difficult to open. So I think that's your real key focus, to make sure that you match that up. So it does.
It's a pretty important part of the evaluation criteria when we select the TCM.
Would you like to give us a report in like 4 months from now on this particular issue, or will we be hot and heavy into other things, or what do you think?
Within 4 months, we should have done the evaluation processes, gone through the Board of Airport Commissioners,
Right.
and be back in front of you all with the actual recommendation
Right.
for the 2 TCMs.
Well, we're just going to ask for a report in 4 months, like in the first of the year, sometime in February, just to how things are going, to make sure we make those dates.
Okay.
Because that's the key. All right. So was that a comment from the back in the rafters there, Mark? Is that a comment? Your voice picks right up off the acoustics. I hear everything that you said. So that was good. So we'll get another report sometime in the future just to do that. We thank for everybody's participation. There's no public comment card. This meeting's now adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you.